I'm not built for this. You go ahead if you wish to.
Enemy targets detected. Ready for another?
What's the
Enemy
matter?
data signet markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
Insanity! Nice second, my friends. Indulge yourselves!
Many. Commencing support. Enemy data secure. Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
Time to mix things up.
Thanks for the support.
Nothing. Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things. Something out of nothing. To the soul, insanity. I'm just a frail scholar. To the soul, insanity. Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things. I have it under control.
We have the upper hand.
What's the matter? To the soul. Insanity.
Enemy targets, enemy data signet markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
Nice second, my friends. Indulge yourselves!
Commencing support. Enemy data signet markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
Step up, let's see ya. I'm just a frail scholar. Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things. To the soul, insanity. To the soul, insanity.
Enemy targets detected. Ready for another? Enemy data secure. Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
Nice second, my friends. Indulge yourselves! Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things. To the soul, insanity.
Commencing support.
In the mood for another beating?
Enemy
I have it under control.
data secure. Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
To the soul. Insanity. What's the matter? Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things. To the soul, insanity. Return back to me.
Many.
let's see ya. Nice psychic, my friends. Indulge yourselves!
Enemy data secure. Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack. Ready for another?
I'm just a frail scholar. To the soul. What's the luck? With this divine power, I reforge all things. Insanity. To the soul.
Step up, let's see ya. Time to mix things up.
Enemy data secure. Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
I'm just a frail scholar. Insanity. To the soul.
Ready for another?
In the mood for another beating? Nice psychic, my friends. Indulge yourselves! It ain't over.
Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things. Insanity. What's the matter?
Enemy data secure. Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
To the soul. Insanity.
In the mood for another beating?
Commencing support. Ready for another?
This world is a bomb.
I'm just a frail scholar. To the soul. Insanity.
Enemy targets detected. Enemy data secure. Net markers activated. Time for a good old counterattack.
Step up, let's see ya. Nice psychic, my friends. Indulge yourselves!
Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things. To the soul. Insanity. I'm not built for this. You go ahead if you wish to engage.
Watch yourself. Confidence. Nice psychic, my friends. Indulge yourselves!
Expand your thinking.
What's the... Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things.
Curious, endless riddle. Nothing but a void. Open sesame. Glimpse the unknown.
Step up, let's see ya.
Something out of nothing. To the soul, insanity.
Helpless as ever. Expand your thinking. Open sesame. Curiosity. Endless riddle. Nothing but a void. Expand your thinking. Watch it chrome.
In the mood for another beating?
I'm just a frail scum. To the soul.
Nice, like my friends. Indulge yourselves!
Open sesame. Curiosity. Endless riddle. Nothing but a void. Expand your thinking. Glimpse the unknown.
Not so fast. Feeling a little dizzy?
How's this taste?
Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things. Insanity.
I don't have time for games. Open sesame.
Zoning out. I'm ready.
Many. Curiosity. Endless riddle. Nothing but a void. Expand your thinking. Watch it chrome.
In the mood for another beating? Time to mix things up. Nice, like my friends. Indulge yourselves! It ain't over.
Never seen perfection before? Open sesame.
To the soul.
Confidence.
I don't have time for games. Expand your thinking. Curiosity. Endless riddle. Nothing but a void. Open sesame. Glimpse the unknown.
Something for everybody.
Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things. Insanity. To the soul.
Many.
In the mood for another beating? Time to mix things up.
Impressive.
Nice, like it, my friend.
This is worth learning.
Indulge yourselves!
at your feet. How does that feel?
In the mood for another beating? How's this taste?
Thank you. And I'll give you what you need.
Confidence.
Insanity!
Expand your thinking. Mimi!
Curiosity?
Endless riddle. Nothing but a boy.
Open sesame. Watch it crumble.
Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things!
That's all you got? Nice, like it, my friends. Indulge yourselves! It ain't over.
To the soul, insanity!
Zoning out.
I can
Ready?
expand your thinking.
I'm just a frail scholar. To the soul, insanity!
Mimi, Mimi.
I don't have time for curiosity.
Endless riddle. Nothing but a boy.
Look, the show has begun. With this divine power, I reforge all things!
Open sesame.
Glimpse the unknown.